Hey everybody, it's GoblinX, and welcome back to the final Alchemy Premier Draft of Aetherdrift, and in classic GoblinX fashion, I forgot to start recording, so the first pick was a Mindspring Merfolk in a pack with pretty weak commons and uncommons, so we just take the really good card draw engine, and the second pick, the best card, was the Broadside Barrage, very good removal spell that also gives you some card selection there. So we are starting a bit blue-red, but Broadside Barrage is super splashable, so I don't think we're married to blue-red to the point where I want to take a boosted sloop here and just lock in on the blue-red cycling archetype when there's a really powerful mono blue uncommon here, the Spike Shell Harrier, that fits into any blue deck as a fantastic tempo play. So again, apologies we didn't get to see the first two packs, but we got two really strong cards in a row, so I think you can imagine these were at least in the top three strongest cards in those packs, so very reasonable picks to start the draft off. Pick 4 now, we got another Spike Shell Harrier that looks fantastic. Stampeding Scurryfoot is one of the best commons in the whole set. Path Cruiser's great fixing. Path Maker is a solid reason to splash towards white. Road Rage is solid removal if we lock in on red, but again, we can stay flexible and still take a really powerful spell, so I'm taking Spike Shell Harrier. Pick number 5, I like Ether Siphon in this format in any deck that's decent at playing the long game and defending itself. If you've got a lot of removal spells, that works. If you've got a lot of really beefy creatures, Harriers are decently beefy and slow your opponent down, then Siphon works really well as well. So I think this is a great long game way to win the game through all that mill. So the Ether Siphon, we've won with it a few times before, particularly in a live stream. I had like a blue-green Ether Siphon deck, like 6 wins or something. That was pretty sick. But yeah, I think it's a really reasonable pick here. The other option is really just Scurryfoot again. I mean, every single person in the pod so far has like opened up a Stampeding Scurryfoot. So there's a million of those. Somebody's going to have a sick deck with like 3 or 4 Scurryfoots in it towards green. It's going to be pretty dumb. All right, pick 6. I like the blue-black artifact deck a lot, and the Pact Altair fits really well into that deck. Curving into Spike Shell Harrier is fantastic, giving us a way to raise our speed without having to attack with any of our creatures. Just while we're playing all of our artifacts, we're raising our speed for that Ether Siphon, so I can still hold all my blocks up as well. I think it just plays super, super well in like an Ether Siphon, Spike Shell Harrier, blue-black deck. Maybe splash in a Broadside Barrage, go Grixis Control-y here. Pact Altair is a pretty easy pick for me out of that pack. And for pick 7, a very easy Transit Mage when we have 2 really strong 5-mana artifacts and a really strong 4-mana artifact. This is going to be a flexible, powerful tutor. Pick number 8 now, Skystreak Engineer is a very reasonable 2-drop to slow the game down a little bit, keep all of the 2 power creatures off of your face, and chip in for some damage later. Once you drop an Ether Siphon or something, you want to raise your speed. It's also evasive, it's also flying to get in. Hole Drifter is fine in this archetype as well. I like all of our other artifacts better though. Feels a little early to take another 5-drop when I already have 2 excellent ones. And I don't think Maximum Overdrive plays super well in blue-black. This is better in like Rakdos and Orzhov with the smaller creatures really trying to bash in. And then Locust Spray is a little bit narrow as removal. Even though you can cycle it when it's not going to work well, I don't think it's great. Pick 9, I actually do like Midnight Mangler a lot in this deck, just as an artifact creature, an early blocker, to buy some time, let you grind out those long Ether Siphon Pact Altair wins. But Gearseeker Serpent is also reasonable. You don't ever really want 2 or 3 copies of this, but having 1 copy of this in any of your blue decks that have a ton of artifacts is pretty nice. A way to be able to win the game in these board stalls, no matter how many creatures your opponent's got out, is decent. So I don't mind the Serpent, but I'm still going to go Mangler over it. Because like I wouldn't mind having a deck with 2 or 3 Midnight Manglers, and those are my 2-drops to defend myself. But if I end up with 2 or 3 Gearseeker Serpents, I am going to cut 1 or 2 of them. So we'll take another Midnight Mangler here, and now we'll take a Hole Drifter, again, because you just take that card later. Pathmaker, actually a very reasonable, pretty strong splash for a blue-black artifacts deck, and I'm only 1 card deep into black right now, so it might not even be a splash. Maybe we end up in Jeskai Control or something here instead. We're really locked in on blue, and I'm incredibly happy to be the blue drafter at this pod, but our secondary color is wide open right now. We're not going to play Surveyor even if we are blue-red. All right, so pack 2, pick 1, a double black, double red Gearhulk. That's a very difficult splash, especially when we're not green, where we can actually have extra materials to help splash with. So that is going to have to go by the wayside, sadly. I don't think Bulwark Ox is strong in blue-white because the deck just isn't aggressive towards saddling and getting those extra swings in. A second copy of Ether Siphon gives us some redundancy, some consistency on that mill win, so I do like that plan. And I think that's just about the only choice here. It's really Ether Siphon, maybe Spectral Interference, maybe Night Market or something, but I'm going to take the Ether Siphon. Wow, watch this be our final Alchemy draft of this format, and we don't draft a single Alchemy card in this deck. That would be pretty tragic. If we find the uncommon that spits out 2 Thopters, that is a slam dunk Alchemy card that's going immediately into this pile. Okay, so pack 2, pick 2. Very weak white spell for the blue-white deck. Very weak red spells for the blue-red deck. A third Midnight Mangler, or towards black with the Packed Altair with the blue-black artifact deck, a Grim Bauble is actually great. It's our early removal spell that also triggers everything that cares about artifacts and surveils later in the game. Pretty easy Grim Bauble for me. This is still a little bit speculative, but a little less speculative than trying to move towards green with the Scurryfoot. Although the way pack 1 went, where everyone opened a Scurryfoot, green would be a solid place to be. I think it's a slightly weaker spot for all of our artifact-centric cards in this deck. So I'm going to take the Grim Bauble. Plus, it's a much more boring spot to be, in my opinion. Okay, pick number 3. I could take an Alchemy card now with Surge of Acclaim. That's a fine card draw spell. But there's a card I actually really like with Ether Siphon here that I'm going to take, so we're going to keep drafting no Alchemy cards. It's actually Slick Imitator. So the funny thing about Slick Imitator is that it's your cheap way to start your engines so that every hit you're getting in with Skystreak Engineers or Packed Terrors or anything like that is helping you reach max speed before you even cast your Ether Siphon. But it's also got a really good max speed ability for working with Ether Siphon, because if you have 2 copies of Ether Siphon on the board, every time you draw 1 card, your opponent mills 4. And by sacking this when you cast an Ether Siphon, you can have 2 Ether Siphons on the board. So I've done that once in a paper draft at a Friday Night Magic at my local game store, and I think the Slick Imitator Ether Siphon combo is like super legitimate. So pick 4, we have a Wretched Doll, which is pretty fine for this deck as a cheap artifact creature, but we also have cheap interaction, bounce something, slow our opponent down, and draw a card. And I'm pretty low on interaction right now. We have like 1 Grim Bauble and maybe a splashed-in Broadside Barrage here. So even if this isn't full-on removal, just having more ways to slow our opponent down, deal with some threat for a little bit is still pretty important. So I'm going to take the Roadside Blowout. Pick 5, now we have a Wreckage Wickerfolk, excellent for this deck. It's a cheap flyer to raise our speed with our Slick Imitator, with our Ether Siphons, and of course an artifact. And it sets up our draws with that Surveil. Little sad it's in the same pack as Backwater, because that'd be solid fixing for us, but that's just so easily the pick there. Pick 6, well, if we don't manage to find any on-color removal, we can just splash red. If we only have to splash a single color to get multiple removal spells in, that's going to make it a little more consistent, right? If all of the removal we want to splash in is just red removal, like I don't have like Broadside Barrage plus Ride's End plus Runover or something like that. So picking a second red removal spell gives us a more clear direction to splash here. Over splashing white for Pathmaker, we splash red for actual removal. Pick number 7. Awkwardly, this is the blue-white duel and not the blue-red or red-black duel to help splash the red I've been talking about. So I think I'm just on Engine Rat. Maybe Spectral Interference is fine, but I like the Engine Rat being able to trade into any of the massive green creatures in the format. Pick number 8. There we go. Siphon Fuel. Somewhat mediocre removal, but perfectly main deckable if you don't find the really efficient removal spells. Here's Night Market to help these red removal spells jump into the deck. Here's another Midnight Mangler. Here's a 1 copy of Gearseeker Serpent as a finisher. That seems perfectly fine. Guidelight Optimizer's pretty filler. These are all pretty filler. I suppose Matrix is the closest, but I doubt we run it. All right, Foul Roads, sure. Pack 3, pick one. We've opened up an on-color Alchemy rare. We actually do get to play at least one Alchemy card in this final draft because Terrors of the Track is very strong. It's better in a more aggressive deck with a higher creature count. I mean, we've got a pretty high creature count, but some of those are like Defenders and 2/2s at 3 mana and stuff like that. So not the greatest deck ever for it, but the card's still really, really powerful. 2/2/1 flyers off of one spell is ridiculous. So if your opponent doesn't have a removal spell to kill it before it declares an attack, you're already way ahead in value. And if both of them stick around, your opponent's basically never going to win because they're taking 4 a turn in the sky and getting drained for 2 anytime something dies. Very strong card. Pack 3, pick 2. A second Transit Mage is beautiful here. I'm certainly looking for more 3-drops on the curve, and we have tons of stuff we can tutor up with them. 3 premium 4/5 mana artifacts. And luckily enough, it's not in the same pack as a good removal spell for us anyway, unless we take an Oblivion for the splash again. There's no like main deck removal to take over it, which is the biggest thing we're missing in this deck. There's a very fun, very cool Alchemy card, but we have almost no exhaust abilities. We've got like 1 Skystreak Engineer and 1 Mindspring Merfolk. So sadly, I never got to do the Squid Pirate deck, but that would be a cool, pretty fun one. This is a great Transit Mage deck, though, so cannot be unhappy there. Can be pretty unhappy about this pack. There's just nothing for us. We don't even get a piece of fixing here for missing all the removal and everything. Yeah, that's awkward. I could play another flyer to work on our speed, or I could play Risky Shortcut as a draw spell that also works on our speed. I have 2 Ether Siphons as huge card draw engines, a Hole Drifter to draw 2, a Mindspring Merfolk to draw X. I think Lich Ghost Surveyor is slightly more likely to get run than just a straight up draw spell. Oh, that's lucky. Oh, thank God. It's not removal, once again, but it is a very, very strong card in this archetype, getting 2 1/1 flyers, draining your opponent for a bunch of life, equal to the number of artifacts you control. That's very, very good. Vinwixit is nice in this deck as well, because we have enough cards caring about max speed and draining life towards it, but Haunt the Network is so good in this archetype, I have to take it over Vinwixit, sadly, and there's almost no chance Vinwixit comes back here. Deviant Skytech. Wow, the final pack has been so lucky. A 3rd Transit Mage would even be good here. But Deviant Skytech is beautiful. 2 1/1 flyers for 3 mana, and it starts our engines. So it's guaranteeing that we're getting value by chipping away at our opponent with those 1/1 flyers. And once we're at max speed, it's 2 more 1/1 flyers. So it's 4 1/1 flyers off 1 spell, which is brutal. They're all artifacts too. So they trigger Pact Altars, they make Gearseeker Serpent cheaper, they make Haunt the Network do more. Just really, really good spell for us. Deviant Skytech is a fantastic pickup. Pick number 6 is nothing at all. So we will take an Uncommon for Vault Progress. I'm going to go ahead and cut this Optimizer now. Probably end up cutting some of these Manglers because I've got a lot of other 2s. I'm going to cut the Surveyor as well. Now that I have 3 3s. Cut Pathmaker, obviously. I don't want to play multiple Reef Roads or Foul Roads. I don't even know if I want to play the first one. I'm going to take Locust Spray here, and maybe that works fine as removal. Well, there we go. There's a Siphon Fuel. I've got triple Mangler. I don't even know if I'm playing all 3, so I'm not taking a Mangler over that. We're not finding any more fixing, so I might want to just go Siphon Fuel, Bobble, Locust Spray, Blowout. Because a single Night Market to splash in the red spells is not very consistent mana at all. And I don't mind Grim Javelin here to give the flyers +1 power, but I think I care enough about artifacts to take Camera Launcher. It's either way still going to be one of the first cards I cut. Okay, I got a Bloodfell Caves. I can't really take Oblivion over that because then I have the same problem where I take that and I just have 1 market to fix, so I'm not that into the night market. Or sorry, the red splash. But now with Bloodfell Caves, 2 lands towards that. That means I probably don't want to run the non-fixing tap lands. And then we can run these over like a Locust Spray and something else. Pick 11, there's another shortcut. Pick 12, another reef roads. There's a spectral interference. It kind of works as interaction if I have it up at the exact right time, but I don't have a lot of instants in this deck, actually. Weirdly enough, blue-black is a pretty sorcery speed deck throughout the early game, so you're not going to hold up that counterspell till really late. Because it's like, yeah, I'm playing 2-mana creatures that are sorcery speed creatures. I'm playing 3-mana creatures that are sorcery speed creatures. Some of those are even drawing my 4-drop to play my 4-mana sorcery speed creature, then my 5-mana sorcery speed creature. I have 3-mana sorcery speed artifacts to play. I have a 3-mana sorcery speed enchantment here, a sorcery speed removal spell. But yeah, holding up the extra mana is actually slightly difficult. Not super duper consistent. I think double Ether Siphon is enough of a late game win plan that I don't need the Serpent to try to do that. Although the 5/6 body could still help get blocks, and I can make it pretty cheap in this deck. I do actually have a lot of 2s here, as well as 2 1s for early game plays, the Grim Bauble to shred something, so I don't think cutting Midnight Manglers are the worst. Although Skystreak Engineer is probably a worse 2-drop than those, because I still have Tears the Track and Wicker Folk for other early flyers, and I don't want to have too many fleshy creatures. My deck cares a lot about artifacts for Haunt the Network, for Pactol Terror, for potential Gear Seeker Serpents. Camera Launcher looks kind of mediocre here too. Holdrift is a little expensive, and I still have the Mindspring Merfolk and the double Ether Siphon. So I don't think I need the big 5-mana draw. I've got a lot of 5s here between all the Harriers, the Siphon Fuel, the Haunt. It's still a good card, but I need to cut 6 here, so some combination of this stack. I think I'm pretty happy to run a big Chungus to help block in the late game. Got a lot of ways to reduce the cost, but I want to kind of keep more of those in, so if anything else, if I have room to keep anything else in, it's ideally some Midnight Manglers as more cheap artifacts that are going to sit on the board for a while, slow our opponent down, and also make Serpent cost less, so I like the Manglers here, I think, over the rest of these. And I have to cut 6 cards, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1 Mangler. I think I like this turtley blue-black mill deck. Red splash for some removal. This looks pretty nice to me. It is incredibly light on the alchemy cards for our final alchemy draft, so not a huge goodbye to alchemy, not a huge send-off to the Aetherdrift Alchemy, but at least the 2 alchemy cards we did end up getting are extremely powerful, which is, you know, pretty alchemy of them. So spicy, strong deck to end things off here. Again, not super alchemy related, not super alchemy dependent. This is a 100% viable deck without the alchemy cards. It's a very normal blue-black artifact mill deck you can do in the regular formats, but it still looks pretty strong and pretty spicy, so I'm excited to see how it does. So without further ado, let's hop into the gameplay. Alright, here we are for game 1. Really good start. Wicker Folk into Skytech is a fantastic way to start things off, and we have all 3 colors as well. We hit any of our removal spells. Transit Mage on turn 4, picking up a 5-drop, so we pick up the Spike Shell Harrier, and we just have a full curve now. Well, there's a 5-drop for us, a Haunt the Network. Don't mind if I do. Now, I don't even need to Transit Mage, but I think I'm still going to. I mean, I can Transit Mage and Merfolk on turn 4. This is wild. Yeah, especially because we might even reach max speed with this Deviant Skytech. To be able to crack it and get 2 more Thopters. It's going to be a lot of artifacts on the board with the Haunt the Network, and they're all going to be flying Thopters. This is a very gross-looking start. I think our opponent has to at least slightly consider exiling the Wicker Folk here and stopping us from raising our speed if they have the 2-mana removal spell that exiles a tapped creature. They go for a Surge of Acclaim instead. We don't know for sure if they do or don't have the Ride's End. Remembered the name now. But we do know that they chose to cast a draw spell. I don't even think we really need to play around Ride's End here, because there's kind of no way to do it. Our hand right now is all small creatures anyway. Kind of just playing whatever we want to play as aggressively as possible. Plays around the Ride's End already. Because what are they going to do? Kill a 2/2 Transit Mage? Kill a 1/3 Wicker Folk? Alright, there's the Lotus Guard Disciple, so we're going to try to get the solid blocker out to stop us here. I think maximum speed is valuable enough in this deck to sack a 1/1 Flying Thopter to get in this turn. But I also get to Transit Mage into the Spike Shell Harrier to bounce that Disciple next turn. And get my speed up that way. Although, I imagine a Haunt the Network would also be pretty good. You know, I could take Pact Altair. If I get a Pact Altair down before the Haunt the Network, that's also really nasty. There are so many fantastic ways to play this. I'm going to grab the Harrier, though. Do I Merfolk right now? Yeah, I'm going to play a 5-drop next turn, so I can't really... I can't really get rid of Merfolk Summoning Sick next turn. So if I don't play the Merfolk now, I'm waiting at least 3 turns to exhaust it. But by playing it now, I can go 5-drop next turn, exhaust Merfolk turn 6. So I think what I want to do here is Harrier the Disciple to get my speed up so that I can Haunt the Network later with the extra Thopters out too. But I do also have the option of maximizing speed with the Haunt the Network without even having to declare an attack. It's just a little less life drain. Depends on how this board changes this turn. Start their own engines. They are not going to attack. Okay, so if they just play a 2/5 on the ground, I'm pretty happy to just Spike Shell Harrier into max speed here. Then get a Lifelink, swing off Pride of the Road, but whatever, I'm at my max speed, I get my extra creatures. And I just bounce off with a 4/4. Not literally bounce off. There's a card called bounce off in the format, so I can't say that phrase. I can have my... Oh, Jesus Christ. If there was ever a way to potentially lose this very winning game, it would probably be the strongest Alchemy rare in the whole format. Okay. Well, that's a problem. Luckily, it's just a bunch of creatures on the ground. I can get the Ether Siphon. Oh, Ether Siphon, exhaust Merfolk if they don't hit removal is going to be big. I can't crack Skytech and cast Haunt the Network this turn. This card is so miserable. Because the servos all crew it. Every time it attacks, they put a ridiculously well-costed flyer into their hand. 2 mana 4/4 Flying Vigilance, 2 mana 2/2 flyer, tap something, because they're artifact creatures, not vehicles. So they don't have to crew them. If I attack in, they kill one of my flyers for free. If I try to block, they've got Lifelink Indestructible to get the next card in hand. I have to try to mill win here. I really need them to not have removal for Mindspring Merfolk. So I can exhaust the Merfolk next turn. And get a ton of Ether Siphon Mill. Yeah, no, this card just single-handedly wins the board state for the rest of this game if we don't kill it. And even if I do, they're 4 1/1s ahead. I spent a removal spell and they still got 4 1/1 servos. Yeah, we just cannot hope at all to outrace them from here to get in on board, really. Because they're just going to be casting a 2 mana extra creature now off of the Forge. So I'll keep their speed low here and chump every turn. If the max speed mechanic weren't here, yeah, 2 mana 4/4 Flying Vigilance. If the max speed mechanic weren't in this set, I probably wouldn't mind taking a couple early hits. All right, draw 4, hit a swamp, please. Mill 8. That's a swamp. Haunt the Network buys us a whole ton of time because I have a lot of artifacts on this board. And that's going to give me 2 more chumps against all the 4/4 Flying Vigilance cards. I can crash and burn the Skyforge as well. Next turn, just destroy target vehicle. I guess I don't have the mana to do both of those, so it is probably better to crash and burn than Haunt the Network. Yeah, I mean, Harrier just runs into the 2/5, everything else just dies to the 4/4s. It's 100% a mill game. There's the Ether Jackets to stop our mill. Do I have to crash and burn an Ether Jacket over the Skyforge here? They have 15 cards left. I kind of think I do. Keep them off speed for 1 more turn, while it only takes 2 creatures to do so. So once they cast more off of the Skyforge, it's going to be even easier for them to raise speed. I mean, I guess... Are they really getting to max speed before they mill out? They're milling 4 a turn. Mill 4, that's 11. Draw for a turn, that's 10. Mill 4, that's 6. Draw for a turn, that's 5. Mill 4, that's... We mill fast enough, I think. We can actually let them raise their speed. I still want to stop some damage here, though. But I guess the more I have out for Haunt the Network, the better. So, like, take it all or stop it all. Or like the 2 lines, really. They don't raise the speed at all, or I keep more stuff for Haunt the Network. Take it here. Again, I think I have to crash and burn Ether Jacket. In order to mill 4 a turn, I have to be activating Siphon every turn, so we'll do that right now. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll have 6 mana up after this. That's 4 for Crash and Burn, 2 for Mangler. My other red card costs 3, so I don't need to hold up double red. Yeah, we'll do it like that. Transit Mage, do you hit anything that matters? Not immediately matters. But I can find a Packed Doll Terror, a Spike Shell Harrier to slow them down. Slow down the Heart of Kieran or something. Okay. Oh, what am I doing? I just said the whole time I have to kill Ether Jacket. God dang it. I'm so dumb. I was thinking about too many things at once and my brain just defaulted to Skyforge. Oh, now I have to play such a longer game here. It's still winnable, but... Oh, no. I just set myself up to have to play for another, like, 15 minutes. Oh, man. I hate brain farts, man. I hate the human monkey brain. I could say out loud and be so confident I know exactly what I need to do, but then instinct hemisphere takes over, and that's not what happens, because I'm too busy thinking about 3 other things happening at the same time. I'm frustrated. But again, I'm still in an okay position here. They only have 1 creature that can attack in at all right now, and I can keep chumping it for a long time. Get a lot of life drain set up. Okay, I've got big enough blocks off of Haunt the Network to actually kill the Smuggler's Copter. only losing 2 1/1s to do so. Yeah, I guess I just gotta top deck another Aether Siphon now. Because I'm a fool and a buffoon. Transit Mage plus Haunt the Network here. Harrier's pretty good. There's no way we're getting 19 damage in this game, even with Packed Alter triggers, so I'm taking the Spike Shell Harrier. Because this is like 6 damage or something. 7 damage. I guess there's a chance over a very long time Packed Alter could do enough work to get there. But it's pretty unlikely. I've got the mana to activate Grim Bauble and still cast Spike Shell Harrier. So Grim Bauble, if we don't find basically exactly the mill card. Not attacking with Smuggler's Copter makes me feel like they probably have like 1 removal spell in hand, where if I quad block Smuggler's Copter, we still kill it, but quad block Heart of Kirin, they can blow up. And again, with them working on speed, I'm just going to single block Heart of Kirin then. Anyways, I'm going to bobble, get rid of anything that isn't the mill card. They're down to 8 cards now. If I find Aether Siphon, they're dead in 3 turns, because it doesn't give me the initial hit. Detention Chariot is not insane on this board, but that does mean if I hit Aether Siphon, I need to not cast it anyway, because then they Detention Chariot the Aether Siphon. So I think I don't Surveil with Grim Bauble then. Because if I Surveil into Aether Siphon, I'm not going to cast it anyway. I'm going to play Spike Shell Harrier, and then I use Grim Bauble during their actual end step instead. And I'm going to hold on to this Roadside Blowout, so if I find an Aether Siphon, it's another 2 mil, and we turn it into a 2-turn kill. Force the recast of the Flyer here. And whatever they Detention Chariot off of this board is pretty fine. I'm supposing it's going to be like a Wicker Folk. But if they attack with Smuggler's Copter, they have to draw a card. Oh wait, no, they don't have to. Never mind. Why so good? No, not Masterpiece Vaults! If we lose this game, it's 100% monkey brain for getting to blow up the right creature here. So it'll be a really frustrating loss. Okay, Trackhand Trainer's pretty bad here. I mean, the cost reduction is good for the Masterpiece Vaults. And they can start moving their sword around for 1 mana. The sword's going to be really bad for me, but I have artifact creature blockers. Now I have to chump with Wicker Folk before I block with a 1/1 flyer, because I need to be able to block through this Masterpiece Vault, finding a protection from Blue Sword. Please use that ability. They did not. Okay. But they actually tapped out of even having the removal to not lose Smuggler Copter here. So I think I kill the Copter and just have 1 blocker for Heart of Kirin then. We double check the board and make sure I'm not monkey braining it again. I'm not. Okay, we'll actually kill it then. Roadside Blowout the Heart of Kirin to slow them down. If Masterpiece Vault finds the pro blue-black sword, well, that's not in the vault. It's only the enemy-colored ones. Yeah, so they can't be pro blue and black. They can be pro blue or black, but the pro blue would still be really bad for me on any of their creatures. I have 1 chumper now. All right. Grim Bauble, find Siphon. Please, 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 please. I'm begging. That's actually comedy. I tried to say find Siphon. I'm an Aether Siphon. I'm an Aether Siphon, Arena. Oh boy. That's so funny. I think, again, I have to keep that and just kill the flyer here, and now I just need to be worried about whatever the sword goes on. 5 to sack this and equip a sword of something and something. So if I blow out... I can't blow out the Masterpiece Vault, that sucks. If I blow out the Trainer, that's only 1 mana to do that. But then they just activate Masterpiece Vault and replay Trainer. They're kind of like, whatever. I feel like I need to draw a card badly enough at this point to just Roadside Blowout. Oh no, but Auto Tap tapped out all my blue. Even if I top deck Aether Siphon, I don't cast it this turn. Because we tapped 4 blue. Why? I guess because this is a non-basic land, so they wanted to leave 1 mountain up, 1 island, and 1 swamp, and then since this is a non-basic, they just completely ignore it. I will never learn. I'm just gonna keep letting Auto Tapper be an idiot and blaming it instead of myself for letting Arena Auto Tap. Alright, Pro Blue Sword, chump with Wicker Folk. Still at 21 against very low cards in deck. If I top deck Aether Siphon, I do still win. If it's the exact top card of my deck. I'd actually be really surprised if they choose to equip Pathmaker here. Oh, maybe they have the removal for Wicker Folk too? Nope. I mean, that is the mill 20 sword, right? It's the mill 10 sword. It's still like if it hits me, they win immediately. Alright, I need to draw Aether Siphon or a artifact or black creature. I actually have, I think, a decent amount of outs to not die next turn in terms of non-blue creatures to block with. But I would really prefer, I think, Aether Siphon. Actually, would I prefer Aether Siphon? Because then they just put the sword on somebody else and I'd get hit. 13 cards left. Play Aether Siphon, Roadside Blowout, 12 cards left. Activate Aether Siphon, 11 cards left. They mill me 10. I still have 1 card left to draw off of Aether Siphon and mill them out. So yes, Aether Siphon is still better than any other draw, because I would mill them exactly with 0 cards left in my deck. And Bloodfell Caves is horrific as a draw. Alright, this needs to be a black creature or colorless creature. We lose now. The damage is kind of irrelevant, so I think I'm bouncing a 1-drop. So that I have the rest of my mana up. I guess it doesn't really matter. That is the one draw where it matters. Because Pathmaker's a 7 toughness card when it has a sword on it, and if I respond by Siphon fueling Pathmaker, they can just spend the rest of their mana and put the body and mind somewhere else and then mill me. That's monumentally frustrating. I don't think that was a huge punt or anything. That was a really narrow circumstance to think of for why it would matter to bounce the biggest creature. But this also doesn't work if they try to put sort of body and mind on Pride of the Road. Okay, it works there. It works there. Okay, not punished unless they can counter this. Although Aether Siphon is not the kill anymore. They'd have 1 card left in their deck and then we'd have 0. It has to be a black creature or a colorless creature this turn. I guess if I hit Ether Siphon, then Ether Siphon hits the black or colorless creature, that would be fine. That would be the win. That's how we win this game. Or if the Ether Siphon draws into like the Hole Drifter or something, that also works. It's all mana. God dang it. I'm so mad at myself. This game was infinitely winnable if I just blew up their way to blow up the Ether Siphon instead of the bomb vehicle, but that's the human brain for you. Wrong hemisphere. All right, here we are for game 2 on the draw. This is a very solid hand. Stop their early attacks with Manglers. We Transit Mage into our great late game plays. And go from there. Got the Ether Siphon to get way ahead in card advantage early and then mill them out late. Playing against blue-red. The blue-red cycling deck. I'm going to blow an actual aneurysm if I get milled out. But River Churn Monument single-handedly wins the long game and mills us faster than our Ether Siphon mills them. That's rares for you. Definitely beats the uncommon mill card. This is crew 2. We might have to just be aggro here. Transit Mage and actually crew an attack with Mangler. Because again, that monument is just a slow death sentence chilling. Okay, now our Mangler attack isn't even good. We just trade into Mangler and then get milled still. But gotta do the best you can, and that's the best we can. Next turn. Just gonna mill us right now, fair. Mill our second Ether Siphon. Probably the one card where we might have been able to outmill them. If I have 2 Siphons on board, milling 4 a turn later. But that is, again, still only if I actually maximize my speed. I think I'm just drawing Pact Altair here. For aggro and for ways to raise our speed, even if they get blockers going. Magmakin Artillerist, just the normal, pretty filler blue-red cycling build around. Basically irrelevant this game, it's all up to River Churn Monument. But the 4 toughness blocker does still help slow down our speeding up here. Okay, I think I need to play Ether Siphon to start my engines here. Because Pact Altair also just bounces off a 1/4. That way every life trigger I get off of Pact Altair, I'm raising my speed towards milling them a little. But we're never going to outmill this monument. Just Thunderhead Gunner from our opponent. To just block off all of our attacks. And yeah, we're blue-black. Blue-black just doesn't have artifact interaction. That's just the color pie for you, so... I just get to sit here and watch myself very slowly die. I could have traded Engine Rat into Artillerist, but the trade's not even that good when I've got the life loss ability on it later. If I can find one of the removal spells to kill this gunner, I can start declaring some minor attacks. I'm dead in about 4 turns. Ooh, they tapped out of milling me this turn. That's slightly helpful. But now they have a 5/6 blocker too. Yeah, there is the Siphon Fuel. But now they have 2 ginormous idiots, so I'm not going to get in this turn anyway, so we just draw for the turn instead. Play Midnight Mangler to raise our speed. Yep, just mill me. Seven cards in grave. Got about 3 turns left. They just mill 4 more. I draw 2 more. That's 6 cards deeper in the deck. I have 13 left, and the 4 more is 11 in grave. Then they can exhaust Monument, mill me 11. And that's game. Why isn't this destroy target artifact instead of destroy target vehicle? 6, 7 mana? I have enough to siphon fuel and still ether siphon in the same turn. So I'll do the slightly more expensive removal when they're both going to do the same thing. I do need to be drawing cards here and looking for outs to clear the board and get some amount of damage in. I know that it's counterintuitive because technically I'm getting milled faster, but if I'm not playing spells to break this board state, it doesn't matter. One mana off from Imitator plus Crash and Burn here. Yeah, so we still just siphon fuel. I think I actually siphon the Gunner first and then Crash and Burn the Serpent next. Alright, well, we're really not getting damage in. Discard a card, draw 2. They still have the mill 2 set up for 10 in our grave, 15 in our library. Really only 1 or 2 turns away from having no cards left in deck off of the exhaust ability on Monument. Maybe a Slick Imitator Haunt the Network is fast enough to kill him if I draw exactly that. I doubt it. Double Haunt the Network. The first one drains 4, the second one drains 6. Then I have 4 flyers. Well, I guess we'll find out. With Pactol Terror, the drain's even higher, right? So Pactol Terror, Crash and Burn to be able to get some minor attacks in this turn. And then next turn, Slick Imitator Double Haunt the Network for as much damage as that's going to provide. I have to Pactol Terror to maximize my speed here, I think. Get milled 10 next turn if they exhaust. Have 4 cards left in deck, or they mill another 2, and then I've got 1 final turn to kill them. I don't think we're doing 18, but I think this is the best chance to do 18. So we're going to go for it. And I will be tapped out from Engine Rat being able to do that extra damage, so I'm going to attack with it this turn. Okay, they're at 13. 2 copies of Haunt the Network with Pactol Terror. The first one triggers Pactol Terror twice. They're at 11. And then the number of artifacts I have on board is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So they're at 11, take 5, which puts them to 6. The second the second Haunt the Network does kill them then, correct? I believe it does. Alright, so they draw a card here. I was going to say they make a treasure here to mill us out. I guess I have enough cards in grave now that I mill out next turn either way. Okay, I think this damage kills them. I do 1 more damage off the attack this turn too. Actually, even more than that because I have Midnight Mangler. They only have 2 blockers. Make sure it's going to let me copy this spell. I think that's just lethal without an attack. Oh my god. Never concede? I don't even think I really had fun winning that game. I don't think I had fun at all the whole time. Because I was so confident that Rivershard Monument is just like, okay, oops, I die. My color pair just doesn't have interaction for it, and we're a slow enough deck, and they've got the beef. Like, I'm never getting in. They're just going to mill me eventually. And then it's like, oh, I guess top deck into oops, I win instead? Like, that is technically a really exciting, really swingy thing of like, oh my god, I did it, I came back. But I just kind of feel like that wasn't a game of Magic. Like, even me winning, it wasn't really a game. It was just luck. I don't know. I'm being a little bummery about it, a little pessimistic about it. It's probably just because I feel so bad about the monkey brain punt in the first game. I'm still just way down in the dumps here, but yeah, that was the only possible like sequence of draws where we have any chance against Rivershard Monument. I just got astronomically lucky being able to Slick Imitator or Haunt the Network there. There was a tiny element of skill in that, like, yes, I did have to like make sure I was getting max speed towards that play. But that was almost all luck there. Basically all luck there in the end. And it was like exactly in time, right? Because 13 cards in grave, they just mill all 13 and I lose next turn. If I do that and it doesn't stack into lethal this turn. So, all right, well, I guess we are 1-1 here. At least we're not on an 0-2 start. Heading into game number 3. Here we are for game 3. It's a little awkward to have to night market for the blue. I might not do it, because I only have 1 mountain in this deck, but I have like 7 or 8 islands. And I have enough black spells here. It's okay if I don't draw the island for a little bit. Like, I'm not Midnight Manglering on 2. Yeah, I'm gonna night market for red here. Towards this barrage. Because we're way more likely to draw an island for the barrage than we are to draw a mountain for it if I night market for blue. And then I only have just 2 red sources left in the whole deck. Okay, Grimbauble is so perfect here. It's insane. Grimbauble that Chroniclers before it double teams, get the life drain trigger, get my second terrors. I don't have double blacks, I don't get to like play my second terrors, but I get to play my Mangler. Crew that with terrors to get more damage in next turn. Mono green so far. There's a Lumbering World Wagon. Mono green's best rares, excellent mana ramp and fixing and crews to be an astronomically large creature. Well, I guess I could have done whatever because we off-decked the mountain anyway, which is quite funny. I can only afford to cast 1 spell here, so what is the best spell to play? I think we just get aggressive and play Terrors of the Track. My only creature big enough to crew Mangler and swing, plus it has that ability, so now if any creature dies, our opponent takes 2 off of the next creature dying, and then the one after that, they take another 2 the next turn. It's only once per turn, but still a really strong ability. They're already down to 12. Kind of nice getting to see a different side of Midnight Mangler today. This is 2 games in a row. It was very important to be able to actually crew and attack with it. Okay, Mech Cycle's instant speed, is it not? Exhaust, tap another untapped mount or vehicle you control. It is instant speed, and then it will be a +1/+1 counter on it for each mounted or vehicle you control other than this vehicle. So it'll be a 6/5, and then I can broadside barrage it. Okay. Well, I guess it doesn't matter because it doesn't have reach anyway. Unless I want to go for a Midnight Mangler attack this turn. Which I guess is more damage, right? Let me just really make sure Broadside Barrage does enough damage, because this is a really bad play if I can't actually Broadside Barrage kill Mech Cycle. Tap another untapped mount or vehicle. It becomes an artifact creature. Put a +1/+1 counter on it for each mount and or vehicle you control other than this vehicle. It's a 6/5. I do 5 to a 6/5. We hit for 1 more damage and drain them for 2 when we kill it. Unless they notice that I've been highlighting it for like 2 minutes, and then they're like, well, that I probably shouldn't try to block here. Okay. I mean, they don't really have another choice, right? It's the only thing they can do for 0 mana anyway. Okay, so draw, discard. I like Slick Imitator, but we're not even starting our engines right now, so we just need damage, so I'm getting rid of the 1/3. Like, I'm 3 turns minimum from sacking that card. It's the absolute bare minimum. Ketrodon is really good here, the reach blocker, but the Terrors of the Tracks ability is incredible if I just hit the land. Tap land is brutal. Tap land is disgusting here. Dang. Yeah, it'd be super winning here if we could just kill Ketrodon, swing 4. That'd be 6 damage, they'd be at 3. But now if they have a second reach creature play after Ketrodon, like if they have 2 Ketrodons in their hand, we're in an awful, awful spot. So I'm going to Transit Mage for Spike Shell Harrier. I'm obviously not in the market to Spike Shell Harrier a Ketrodon, which is why I'm going to Siphon Fuel the Ketrodon and then have a Harrier in case they hit another reach blocker later. If they have 2 Ketrodons, this game's a nightmare either way. Okay, Venom Sac Lagak. It's like a run over or something like that as well. No, Ovia. Okay. Ovia doesn't do much of anything when they don't have other creatures in their hand. They have more artifact creatures or vehicles. They put +1/+1 counters on them, which is pretty sketchy. Okay, they've got a single green mana up. They could have exactly the hexproof trick, but that's all they could have here. I don't think it's worth playing Harrier to play around the hexproof trick, because like all I do by playing Harrier is, okay, I deal 4, then they recast Ketrodon and gain back the 4, and then I try to Siphon Fuel. I don't think they would hexproof trick in response to me Harriering. I really don't. And there's only 1 card in hand. That's the only card it could be to stop Siphon Fuel. So I'm just going to go for it. Alright, they are going to crew the World Wagon. Yeah, because I feel like even if they had the hexproof trick in hand, they would probably be like, well, okay, I'm going to take 4 and then I'll recast this and gain 4. Because they see black mana, they see red mana, they know I'm going to be a removal heavy deck. So I just think this is way better. Because it's obviously infinitely better if they don't have the hexproof trick. Rise from the Wreck, that's big, but I don't think they have the mana actually to recast Ketrodons. They're still just dead. Oh, they can Ovia it out. They can Ovia it out. Which is particularly rough. Because by putting it out with Ovia, it's instant speed, so I can't even Harrier it. So we just play everybody else and pass for a turn. I guess a land for Engine Rat wouldn't be terrible. Could have kept one of those. Chump attack, drain them for 2 when they only have a gain 4 in hand is not bad, actually. Let's Chump attack, drain them for 2. I guess they only have 2 blockers up, so they're just actually dead, right? No, they're at 7. They're at 7. Block one of these, block this. They only take 2 for something dying. So they're at 7, take 2, they're at 5, take another 2. They're at 3 still. Yeah, no, it's just Trump attack with 1 card. And drain for 2. They could play the Mech Cycle instead if they want here, which is cute. Yep. Drain for 2. Cool. Cast Ketradon, hold the green up for OV if they have another card. They're back at 5. Actually, they can OV a Ketradon through the Harrier. That's actually pretty nice. Can't get around the Siphon Fuel with Ovia. All right. Close to them stabilizing there, but the double tears of the track is just brutal once you get the double team going. So that is 2-1 now, I believe. 2-1 heading into game number 4. All right, here we are for game 4. Wickerfolk into Deviant Skytech is a really nasty, super evasive start. All flyers all day long. Million artifacts on the board too. What are you doing? Getting drawn on turn 2, 1 drop. If you only have 1 mana in your mana cost, you're supposed to be in the hand turn 1. Don't you know that? I need to draw land for both of these, but I like both of these a lot. Siphon Fuel's been consistently great for us today. Got 1 piece of card draw there. It feels a little extra bold to keep both. I'm going to just play Harrier. Fuel Tank Feaster. Well, things are about to get insanely scary from our opponent. I'm going to dump their hand out real fast, because that's like a double mana dork, right? It taps for a mana of any color, but it also makes their most expensive card cost 1 less every single turn, so it's like it's giving them 2 mana a turn. The card is super, super good. We played it in some decks. Yeah, such as a turn 3 9/7 Tarian. Okay. It also plays so well against Roadside Blowout because it's reducing the cost perpetually. Even if I bounce it back, it only costs 4 to replay it. Okay, well, they still have no flyers, and Tears of the Track is good here. Do I have to just take 9 to the face? I wish I had double black. If I could Engine Rat and Terrors, I'd be so happy right now. I guess I can hold up a Thopter. I'm not very happy to, but I can. They're at 20 here. That extra 1 damage is not going to be monumentally helpful. But it's not just the 1 damage. It's the 1 damage that Thopter would have been attacking for the rest of this game. Goodbye, my friend. My sweet little child. Hazard of the Dunes. Get your reach nonsense out of here. Get your reach nonsense out of here. This board is so deadly huge. I can blow out and Terrors of the Track. and then Harrier next turn. Or I could blow out Crack Skytech Harrier next turn. That's also pretty good. They can give Trample now. Oh my god. Okay, I didn't realize how dead I am. Alright. Ah, well, in that case... blocking is real bad. I do still drain them for A life. If I get another Terrors down, I drain them for more. I guess I have to just, like, Engine Rat away the Terrian and get trampled for a bunch? Man, okay. Could have been Chump Attack with a Thopter. I'm guaranteed to raise my speed whether or not they block it. If it dies on the attack, I still raise my speed, and then I have all my mana up without using the bounce to be able to play the Terrors and the Engine Rat. Okay, I'm gonna get trampled for a lot of damage. I completely forgot about that ability from Green Guardian. I think we could have navigated last turn a little differently. We found an average way to navigate last turn. It's not the worst way we could have played it, but it's far from the best. Well, now that the 9/7's gone, the board is really not that scary from them, and we are draining for 2 every time any creature dies. Still, I think, need to Harrier the 4/4 instead of this 1/1 that's just going to trade here. Don't think we accept the trade for a Terrors. But honestly, maybe we do. Like, if they trade for a Terrors here, they take 2 from that, go to 11. Take 2 from the other Flyers, go to 9. They're at 9 life. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 flying power. Yeah, no, that's not a 2-turn kill regardless. Either way. We're grinding out, trying to keep both the Terrors. Yes, yes, give me that drain. So Hazard is still... I don't think it's supposed to reveal to me that Hazard is still the most expensive card in their hand. But I think Hazard is still their biggest creature. Okay, they are desperate to find lethal. I'm at 14? There's no shot they hit lethal, right? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9? Even with like a +4/+4 combat trick? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 on the crackback. I'm like, I don't lethal them on the crackback. Which leads to me probably dying to trample. I can't really stop that much damage here, though. I guess I probably am supposed to do this. Go to 16, and I also stop a couple points of this damage now, and they lose a creature to be less likely to kill me next turn. It's going to take 2 turns to kill them in the sky, either way I play this out. Down to 7, but back up to 9, and they get their 1 mana 4/4 reach here. But I bounce it, and they only have 6 power on the board. Not enough to kill me on the crackback. So we just jam. And then jam again next turn, and they're just dead. Because one of the Flyers hits them, another one dies to hit them for 2. Or Spike Shell, Harrier dies to hit them for 2, and that works too. So I don't die to a +4/+4 trick, which exists in the set. Yep, there's the concession from our opponent. Whew. Scary big stuff from opponent, huge stuff from Fuel Tank Feaster, but just all Flyers all day, particularly our busted Alchemy Rare Terrors the peak. And we're 3-1. heading into game 5. Here we are for game 5. This hand's a little slow, but at least we're on the play to try to make up for it a bit. We've got the turn 3 Transit Mage to pick up the 4-drop, so we go Transit Mage into Pact Altair into Haunt the Network or Harrier. So it's got really good 3, 4, 5, but no 2-drop to it. Okay. Another Spike Shell Harrier. This hand is every 5-drop in our deck. No, we have Siphon Fuels. We have Siphon Fuels for removal as well. Oh, why'd you have to show up now, Terrors? That's really awkward. I think I'd rather play Transit Mage. It is way worse for me if Terrors gets interacted with. Although Transit Mage specifically getting countered is kind of brutal. I was going to say, I don't really care if Transit Mage gets shot at all, but if it gets countered, I don't have a 4-drop, so then I just play Terrors, and now they didn't have to use any removal, so now they can just use removal on Terrors before it gets the double team trigger. Yeah, I can't really afford to be spending my early turns doing absolutely nothing. So if they've got Spectral Interference plus Lightning Strike, that's just their hand lining up really well. Not much we can do about that. I mean, if it's specifically Lightning Strike, I don't think we ever could have gotten Terrors down, because our other threats are 4/4s. So they can't even try to kill those with Lightning Strike. Or Road Rage. Yeah, that's brutal. That just lines up really, really well for our opponent. Play on 50 Spectral Interferences. Nope, there's some other instant. Just Buccaneer's ability. They do get to use it twice here. They get some value for sure. But again, I can't like not play a creature. And I don't want to haunt the network on an empty board. Nope, so they're going to do the double exhaust here. They get to draw a card, discard a card, and then do it again when they recast it later. Bounce off would be really funny. then we're just bouncing our creatures back and forth forever. Not literally forever, but for quite some time, just staring at each other. Okay, they don't bounce off the Harrier. Because I'm like, I mean, if they bounce it off, then I play it and bounce their thing again, and they activate again, and we're just kind of hanging out. Alright, there's Buccaneer with the 2 mana up to activate. Not big enough to block Harrier without something else, so we attack in here. If they want to throw a Buccaneer and a Lightning Strike at our Harrier or something like that, I'm pretty happy with that exchange. I might haunt the network this turn. Wait for a better card to bounce with Harrier. It's still basically haunt the networking on an empty board. It's just 3 artifacts to drain them. Oh, they're just gonna Howler's Heavy to stop all the damage for the turn? Sure. Okay, well then Spike Shell Harrier's not the worst. Because they don't get the double exhaust again or anything. Let me double check my... Oh, I can't double check my deck. I turned on tap off. And I didn't take a picture of my deck list. Okay, I don't remember if I have any draw and discard cards in this deck. I don't think I do, so I'm going to run this out. In case I hit like an Ether Siphon. Could be that I have like 2 lands in my hand by the end of the turn, but I needed to have played both of those to cast all my spells. If I just let this one sit in the hand. This poor Keen Buccaneer. It's been all over the hand and back. And back again. Oh, what am I talking about? I literally have a draw and discard a card in my hand. This is really my draw. I'm not gonna blow out the Buccaneer. It doesn't block the Harriers anyway. Could pre-combat in case they really do want a Buccaneer plus Lightning Strike here. But it'd also be tapped out, so they'd have to consider playing around something weird. If I leave all my mana up instead, I can scare them. Wow, they are actually gonna 2-for-1 themselves for it. Alright, well, we missed out on 1 point of damage. Their hand must be pretty small stuffed then if they were cool to 2-for-1 trade into a 4-4. There's their Ether Siphon. But no way to speed up. They're just taking 6 on board. Yeah, really, really bad draw for our opponent, it looks like. I mean, they had really good early interaction, but just absolutely ran out of stuff after that. No threats or anything. I'm going to hold on to this land this time because I literally have the Barrage in hand if I hit red. I want to discard this land for something else. I did that whole thing. I'm like, I want to check my untapped and see what's in my deck to see if I can draw anything that wants to discard this land. Poor Broadside Barrage. Just like, am I a joke to you? Did you forget about me? Because I just completely blanked it out in my head so fast because I don't actually have the red mana right now, but it is relevant to know what this card does for when I do hit the red mana. Which goes Surveyor and 2 mana up. They might just be dead to a blowout, honestly. Okay, they're not dead to a blowout, but they're not having fun. They can kill 1 Thopter, go to 1 life. Yep, that's the play. Now our Packed Doll Terror is a lethal draw. They're blue-red, so they shouldn't have any way to gain life. Our Sky Tech thing is really good too. The 2/1/1 flyers off of the 1 spell. Broadside Barrage in the hand is already great. Feel pretty likely to end the game next turn off of just an average draw of theirs and an average draw of ours. Because we're clearing out at least 1 blocker and probably casting something else between our top deck for the turn and the barrage draw. Just realized we're playing Aetherdrift on the Bloomburrow board. Which is slightly strange, but I'm cool with it. It would be really cool if they added something where you can pick your own board. Okay, Crash and Burn. I don't have double red, so that does not help at all. I don't think the flying is super relevant, and both of their flying cards are big enough to eat my Thopter without dying anyway. So I think I need to barrage the Merfolk so they don't have a really good play if they survive this turn. They don't just like draw a million. And then I'll Crash and Burn the Sky Ray soon enough. If I draw into just a land here, we just wait. Siphon Fuel. Okay, that's castable now, so we can try to go for lethal here. They're blue-red, so I think Skyray's decently likely to be bigger than Surveyor. They just have to cycle one card and it's already bigger. I don't think it really matters here. All they could have if they don't have like Spell Pierce for Siphon Fuel would be like a Lightning Strike to kill the Thopter, and whatever's left has to chump Harrier regardless. Or a Bounce Off to kill the Thopter. Ooh, Bounce Off actually would be pretty bad. Bounce Off, they could bounce Harrier and then eat the Thopter. Okay, yeah, that's kind of gross. I think Bounce Off's kind of just incredible there, because like our alternate line to play around it is just pass, and if I just pass, they can just bounce off the Thopter anyway, and then have these threats out by the time I'm replaying Harrier. Or by the time I'm attacking with Harrier, sorry. Ward 2 on Captain Howler. And that's a huge card draw engine for them too. Definitely gonna have to crash and burn the Howler. Even my 1/1 Merfolk is threatening to attack lethal if they don't hold up blockers and they know I can bounce one of them. That said, if they have any removal in the world, they're definitely going to kill it, because if they don't, I get to draw a million next turn. And also threaten lethal with a 1/1. Still just looking for Pactol Terror or our 1/1 Flying Thopter producers, or our own Aether Siphon. Okay, well, that's definitely removal. They're trying to maximize speed on the Siphon for the long game kill. And they definitely wouldn't do that without removal or a blocker or something here. It'd have to be 2 blockers if it's not removal. Two blockers it is. That's lethal in one swing. It's also all of my mana. They had anything to bounce or kill Merfolk, they would have done it. So they don't currently have anything to bounce or kill Gearseeker Serpent, but next turn they get to dig 1, 2, 3, 4 cards deep. I almost feel like it's better to just draw a bunch of cards off Merfolk and look for Pactol Terror than it is to slam down Gearseeker Serpent, because again, they can be like 5 cards deep for something to bounce it, to not die. At the same time, if Pactol Terror like isn't in my top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, then I'm just tapping out and not having like lethal counterplays soon. Yeah, either of these lines can go so bad for me. I'm gonna play the Gearseeker Serpent. Oh my god, they have to counter a creature. Okay, they don't. Oh my god, they don't. Okay. I mean, we know they don't have like a bounce a creature or shoot a creature. They have to draw into it, but they can dig far. I guess they could have a bounce a creature, but it would be insane that they didn't bounce Merfolk if they did have that. Because they were just fully willing to let me draw 5 this turn. Instead of bouncing the Merfolk so it has Summoning Sickness. Okay, they don't have the bounce. They have to draw into it. Maximize speed so they mill me a little bit. Actually mill me a lot of it. Because that plus Buccaneer plus 2 off Grease Wrench. Wreckage, Wickerfolk, and an island are the mills. The worst part about this is because they're drawing cards to mill me is like we would see whether or not we would have drawn the Pact Terror. Like, it's one thing without knowing what's on top, what is the statistically right play, but because they're going to be milling all those top cards that I would have drawn, we'll be able to literally see, oh, I would have drawn Pact Terror, or oh, I wouldn't have drawn it. So we would have drawn 6. So we would have hit Wickerfolk and Island. We would have hit Wickerfolk, Island. Them not activating Buccaneer and Grease Wrench Goblin means they 100% have interaction for Gearseeker Serpent here. If they didn't have the interaction in hand for the Serpent to stop it from killing me, they would have to dig and use these abilities to draw more. Still don't think I can't not, like, try to attack them, right? 6, 7, 8, 9. 6 for that. I have 3 mana left over. My leftover mana doesn't do anything. I guess I could hedge my bets with drop Harrier. That's still... It's not onboard lethal off of only attacking with Serpents. I'd have to attack with Merfolk as well then instead of activating it. This feels the worst. In what universe do they not have a response to Gearseeker Serpent and don't go digging for it at sorcery speed so that if they hit a sorcery speed removal spell, like Flood the Engines, they can cast it? I guess a universe where their deck is literally only instants, but that feels so unlikely. It's either that or they misplayed. Those are the only things that make sense for holding these up, other than them just having bounce off or something for Serpent. I don't think I should just dump 6 into this. But also if I dump all my mana to the card draw, I'm milling out faster. This is a mill 1, 2, 3, 4. Or sorry, 1, 2, 3, so that's a mill 6. 6 cards are gone. They draw. That's mill 8. They activate. That's 10. I only have 7 cards left. I can't, like, draw a million. I have to draw 3 and hit Pact Terror, and that's the only way to win outside of trying to Serpent kill here. And they wouldn't have done this if I could get the Serpent kill. I just need Pact in the top 3. Because if I go all out and draw 7, they just mill me out entirely and I die. Because they can mill 10 by the time I have another draw step. They mill 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We found the Pact Terror. Now they have to activate Buccaneer and Goblin if they don't have a counter spell in hand. They could be very kind and show me the bounce off for Gearseeker Serpent. Oh, that's seek and not draw. Okay. But yeah, seek 2 cards is big. I was like, why didn't I just get milled? Because it's seek. Then do it again, seek 2 cards again. Oh, seek a land and on land. Wow! Oh my god, man. Again, I'm confident they never would have made that line if they didn't have a bounce off or something for Serpent. Ah, now they can't mill me out completely though, right? Because we're killing one of these 2 draw spells, and I didn't draw 7, so I have 14 cards left. I don't have another life loss card though, so they can just mill me out in 2 turns instead of 1. Because now we get to see the bounce they had for Serpent, because the play is just like activate Serpent and it gets bounced and rip. Oh my god. Well, we're milled out then. That's mill 4, activating Goblin's another 8. That's mill 12. And then if they haven't played their land for a turn, then that is mill 16. How many cards are in my deck? 12. Okay, it's just mill 12. Activate 1 Siphon, activate Goblin, and my deck's gone. I genuinely think... Again, it's brutal, because we can't have 100% confirmation. We don't get to literally look at their hand. But I do not think I could have played the end of that game out any better. There might have been somewhere to get 1 extra point of damage in early. But again, as I was saying, I don't think there's any chance that they didn't have interaction for Gear Seeker Serpent. So just tapping out the 6 goes horribly. You got me. I mean, they just had everything. Please bounce off Gear Seeker Serpent to at least, like, confirm to me that you had the bounce off. Just be polite. They're not going to. All right. The world may never know, but I'm 99% sure they had the instant speed bounce off style card for the Serpent just sitting in their hand, because if they didn't, they should have been drawing cards during their turn so that if they hit any sorcery speed interaction, they could use it. Again, unless their deck has literally no copies of, like, just not a single Flood the Engine or Spike Shell Harrier or any sorcery speed cards that could have mattered. Unless their deck is literally all instants, which is possible. All of their non-creatures we've seen are instants. But that's so astronomically unlikely. They had 2 ways to draw more cards to look for something to deal with Gear Seeker Serpent, and they didn't do it. There's no way they wouldn't do that unless their deck was nothing but instants, so that they knew they could just do it once I declare the attack, or they already had it, so they wanted to save their mana to use elsewhere. So I think because of the way they played it out, that's the best they could have played it. There's always a chance they had nothing, but I highly, highly, highly doubt that. It is what it is. We are now 3-2, heading into game number 6. Here we are on the play for game number 6. Honestly, after how last game ended, I am just ready to be out of my misery. Let's just 3-3 and get it over with. I'm done with Magic for today. Alright, we've got an Ether Siphon, no double blue, so I don't get to start my engines. I can Transit Mage towards Pactol to have a 3-4 mana play. Feels worth it without the double blue or anything here. And Harrier's pretty good against green, but I have no good play next turn without Pactol Terror. Right, like if they just don't play a creature here, I'm not doing anything. Because I don't have the mana to just put out the Siphon next turn as a turn 4 play. Okay, they do play a creature, and it's a really good one that's too big to bobble, which is awkward. Can bobble it if they block, and then have a 3/4 up if they don't. Sick. I'll 2-for-1 myself to kill Howl Squad Heavy, because that card is more than a 2-for-1 with all the goblins over time. And we drew the blue source to be able to also curve out here. I probably should have siphoned pre-combat. It wouldn't be an Aetherdrift draft if I don't at least once play my max speed card in main phase 2. Or my start your engines card in main phase 2. Cool. Hold the broadside barrage up at instant speed, jam 1. When I already sped up here, I don't really feel the need to make my board too much more aggressive when I can be on the Aether Siphon game plan here to get way ahead in cards and kill everything they do. Ooh, Tears of the Track, that'll get cast. See if it hits the land to be able to cast both of these. No. Alright. I think it was worth still keeping the blowout to have some interaction against better cards from our opponent. I'm cool with not having one more power on this board. I mean, I could have cast both if I didn't draw an extra card, but I should just be maximizing the card advantage that Siphon provides us anytime I'm not under pressure on board. Just put more cards in hand rather than more cards on board. Alright, they do have their Road Rage for the Terrors. Defend the Rider for a 1/1 to stop Engine Rat. That's pretty funny. Roadside Blowout's quite nice there. Now they have to actually throw a full-on removal spell at it. Okay, max speed. I get to start milling off of every draw, so I'm just going for a draw here over a Wicker Folk. Staying way ahead in cards. And starting our mill path to victory as well. So we're attacking them really on 3 fronts here. We're winning the card advantage game, we're winning the mill game, and we're also winning the life total game. Transit Mage is solid. Really don't think I need to kill a 2/2. I will not have the mana for Gear Seeker Serpent after playing a Packed Doll Terror awkwardly. It's 5 to cast, I'll have 2 up. I can play it and the Wicker Folk, or I can play it and draw. I'm gonna play the Gear Seeker and draw here. Send in the Serpent. Crew and Chump. Crew and Chump. We could trade Serpent into a Lightning Strike and a 3/2. It's another possibility here. Pact Altair, Wicker Folk, and activate Siphon. second siphon's pretty incredible. And there's the concession from our opponent. That is 4-2 now. Positive record no matter what, pretty much breaking even, but if we can win at least one more game, we'll be in the money. Here we are on the play for game 7. I'm gonna keep this just because getting the attacking with terrors, getting the double team trigger is such an insane start to a game. But this is a very, very gambly keep. Hitting the 4th black source is super bad. Basically, if they can kill this terrors, they could just destroy us this game. But if they can't, we're in an incredible spot. Okay, if they trade... Oh, wow. What a draw. I was going to say, if they trade with terrors of the track, this is a reasonable game of Magic. That could really go either way. Still, because I'm still up a card, I still get the other terrors, but drawing that Grim Bauble just was so perfect here. Now, I don't think I'm going to crack it in the upkeep, because if I naturally draw an island, I'd like to cast one of these, but I will crack it during their end step. Oh. Well, that kind of blanks my 2/1 flyers. Still got their ability here, but yeah, Deviant Skytech is really nice against those cards. All right, there's the blue source for us, and Transit Mage is a powerful card too, so I'll keep that. All right, this is going to now be a long game of Magic. I like the Wicker Folk against Skytech. That's pretty good. Roadside Blood is not horrible against it either. I'm only killing a 1/4 of the Thopters that'll make over time, but still. Oof, the outpace for the Wicker Folk. They kill it terrors, though. I'm pretty fine with that, actually. Okay. I don't want to let them raise their speed at no cost here. So I want to make it so they have to kill Wicker Folk if they want to speed up. Because obviously there's no chance I'm going to block their 1/1 with my terrors. Alright, well, Terrors of the Track still did some good work here. It did a lot of damage and it pulled out 2 removal spells from our opponent. Ranger's Refueler to draw a card off of that exhaust ability is pretty good. I was gonna tutor for a Spike Shell Harrier off Transit Mage, but drawing it is pretty good too. Man, Refueler is really nice here because they can exhaust it and then have a 4/4 attacker, so they just get to trade into Harrier and draw a card. I might let them speed up if they do that and then just Siphon Fuel the 4/4 body next turn. But yeah, even if their hand sucks, that's a pretty solid play. With 2 different max speed cards, the Skytech and the Oblivion, wanting maximum speed. It's not a bad attack at all. Yeah, I mean, in fact, with Skytech and Oblivion both wanting max speed, particularly Skytech, Skytech's the one that actually really benefits from it. I think I would be willing to just take the trade, even though I have a Siphon Fuel eventually. Okay, they're going to flood the Harrier. That's fair. I'm just going to hold Siphon Fuel up over playing like a Midnight Mangler and having a 3/3 to block the 4/4. I'll just have the removal for the 4/4. I guess I gotta put some pressure on them, right? I still need 3 more turns to hit max speed for Skytech. Maybe it is actually... Transit Mage. I mean, the strongest creature I could put out is a 3/3 Mangler. Yeah, I can't really pressure them much at all here, so I do think I'm just holding a Siphon Fuel to stop them from speeding up at all. If I could cast Gear Seeker, I would 100% do that. But I guess it's also like big enough to block the 4/4, so that makes it like not even a hard choice. But if I could play a Gear Seeker Serpent that enters the battlefield tapped, I would have done that. And let them get the hit in this turn. But I can't. If they want to speed up, they have to crack Outpace and shoot themselves a little bit too. Which they might want to. I mean, getting Skytech to max speed is one of their better ways to try to stabilize a little bit. Ooh, this lack of blue is kind of rough. I like Imitator pre-combat, get our speed going and still have 3 up for surveilling. If Imitator sticks on board once we have max speed, doubling up almost any spell is really scary. We saw it with Haunt the Network today, but it's also really devastating with Aether Siphon, would be really devastating with Gear Seeker Serpent. Transit Mage also pretty wild. Thunderhead Gunner. That's really, really good here. Holds off all of our attacks. Gives them a card draw engine here throughout the game. And big enough to try to start speeding them up later. Okay, there's a little Grease Wrench Goblin. That matters less. Especially with a Thunderhead Gunner out to keep drawing cards anyway. I don't think the discard 2 draw 2 is super immensely helpful. I don't have any red here. I think I'm on just Spike Shell. Could go for the really long game. Oh no, I can't. This card doesn't even let me target my own creature. Sad. I was gonna say I could go for the really long game and bounce my own Spike Shell Harrier. But that's not even an option. Where's the Boom Mobile? They have enough to do X equals 3. They can kill Wickerfolk or Imitator. They might kill Imitator here because I'm about to be at max speed, and that is concerning. But if they kill the Flyer, they have a 7/7 blocker by crewing the Boommobile with Goblin. And then my attacks on the ground are awkward. It's a hard choice for them. Imitator and Wickerfolk are both very good targets. They're going to go for the Imitator, play it safe. This mana, though. Yeah, it's crew 2. I have no attacks on the ground. Picking up a Packed Doll Terror and passing. How many blue sources do I still got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Thunderhead Gunner's back. Ditch a card, draw a card. Drop a land. Drop an engineer. Now they've got blocks in the sky as well. In fact, they have enough blocks they could attack with Boommobile. Slightly risky, but not too much at 8 life. I mean, we know that it's not that risky for them because we know we don't have a removal spell in hand, but if we did have a removal spell in hand, this would still be a pretty bad attack, because then I just blow up Thunderhead Gunner and attack like crazy. Pretty sure I'm supposed to just take this for sure, even though it does speed them up. If I top deck a Siphon Fuel, it's pretty devastating. There's a Gear Seeker. My mana is so bad here, I can't double spell even though it only costs 4. And then I can't play any artifacts with the Pact Altair next turn. I have to just spend all the mana to activate it. They have 19 cards left. I think the Gear Seeker kill is a better plan than the Aether Siphon right now. Yeah. Play this turn. Tap out next turn to give it unblockable. And then 3 turns from now, cast all 3 of these and drain for 3. Discard a card, draw a card. Discard 2, draw 2. Boommobile continues to be massive. Here's a 6/6. Go for a chump here with Transit Mage. It's not really helping us on the crackback, especially now that we're on the Serpent plan. And this forces them to crack the Outpace Oblivion if they want to raise their speed again this turn. In which case they're even lower on life for Serpent and Pact Altair to kill them even quicker. We do the thing. They go to 3. Cycle of Fuel the Flames. Discard a card, draw a card. Send in the Boomer. They're still not at max speed this turn, so I'm just going to take the damage this time. I'm not going to chump with a 4/4. Certainly not going to chump with a flyer. Down to 14. They're at speed 3. They did find the Spike Shell Harrier for the Serpent, so we're on Pact Altair now. Terror and Mangler shoot for 2. If they have the counter, unless we pay 4, they get us whichever one we cast. Pact Altair is more likely to kill them if they have more bounce spells. But Gear Seeker Serpent is the better bait for a counterspell. Because if I Gear Seeker Serpent here and they counter it, then I can still Pact Altair next turn. Or if I draw one more land, I could Pact Altair without them being able to counter it, because I'd have the extra 4 up. But I can do the same with Gear Seeker, right? So I could go Pact Altair here. If they counter it, I still get to play like an Aether Siphon or a Midnight Mangler, and then Gear Seeker costs 3 instead of 4. Okay, they don't have to counter. Should get to do both then. Just the best of both worlds. And they have to kill both of these to stand a chance. Because either one of these definitely ends them next turn. Discard a card, draw a card. Blood the Serpent. This looks like pray that the Pact Altair ceases to exist on a block, or pray that I don't have more artifacts to cast. But they can also just have a main phase 2 way to kill the terror. Okay, Gilded Goda. Does not look like a way to kill the terror, so here's Siphon plus Mangler. Artifact. That is game. Another long one there. We're actually way over the 2-hour mark on this draft somehow. I'm not even close to 9 games in either. I guess I'm kind of close now. We're like 7 games in. Yeah, 5-2. 5-2, that was game 7. Okay, so we're nearing the absolute end of the draft no matter what. We're up in value no matter what, which is great. Pretty good spot to be as we head into round number 8. Here we are on the play for round 8. The Barrage is basically a mulligan, but if I mold to 6, I'd keep these 6 cards, so we'll just keep. Playing against a red deck here, they've got the Grease Wrench Goblin for the Rat. I think I have to just block. We've got really good late game here. Let's make sure we survive against a more aggressive color a little longer. Yeah, Gruul can be a pretty aggressive deck, as you can see. The Prowlcatcher can get slightly bigger than the Grease Wrench Goblin, but the Grease Wrench does set up draws really well. Feel like the Grease Wrench matters more, but all 3 of the creatures in my hand are big enough to block a Grease Wrench even when it's exhausted, but none of them are big enough to block a Specialist when it's exhausted. So I guess I do still trade with Specialist. Guess I'm giving them the card draw there, sadly. Teamer from our opponent. Red, green, and blue. We will be very well acquainted with the 3 color pairs when Tarkir Dragonstorm comes out next month. There's the red source. It's very awkward that it's a tap land here, because skipping this turn would be taking a lot of damage here. It's the blue splash for bounce off. Red 1 drops, green 2 drops, 1 mana blue interaction. I guess they're probably just going full 3 color here rather than splashing anything in particular. There's Boom Scholar. Yeah, I'm just having a hard time deciphering the main colors. Blue looks like the splash. I think red-green is the main colors. And then bounce off, you don't have to cast it really early. You can still play it later off a splash. Yeah, they're Gruul Splash Blue. It looks like. Well, I mean, I think we just get aggroed out here. The Boom Scholar with the Boost Buggy and the Goblin is devastatingly huge, reducing those costs. So we're just getting absolutely bashed to oblivion here. It's only 1 mana to exhaust Goblin, 1 mana to exhaust Boost Buggy. Plenty more cards from the play around with in hand. I like that I can Mangler plus Barrage or just cast a Harrier. Either of these plays is good in that it's going to be playing a blocker plus removing a threat from their board, either permanently or temporarily. So if they don't have a super explosive turn this turn, we do have a chance, but I've got a feeling they will. They only need to spend 2 mana to make their board much bigger, which leaves 4 mana minimum for them to spend on whatever's in their hand to play yet another threat. 5 mana if they attack with Boost Buggy here, which is very likely. They're going to crew Boost Buggy. It's kind of crazy. So they don't want to exhaust the Boost Buggy to be able to attack with it and the Goblin for the crew? Well, I can force them to exhaust to kill the Terror. Must have something really expensive in hand. Oh, it's Fang Guardian. They still had the mana to exhaust Boost Buggy and play Fang Guardian. They just have some other really expensive card in hand? Yeah, no, I mean, we're just astronomically dead, I feel. I'm so sad about my draw and discard here. Yeah, because I have to ditch something good. I guess I've already played every mana value 4 or 5 artifact in the deck. I already drew them all. It's Pact Altera, 2 Harriers, so goodbye Transit Mage. Here's the Mangler, which is big enough to trade into any of their 3 creatures on board. But we're about to see what explosive card they left in hand to kill us with. If it is somehow nothing, we could stabilize, trade this into a 4/3. Okay, it's their own Barrage, which is just dead on board. That's 10 damage after they exhaust Boost Buggy, and they have the treasure tokens to do that. Alright, not too much of a game there. Our opponent just had a really, really aggressive curve, and our hand was a bit too slow. And I do mean it when I say just a bit. Maybe if we had just one more early game blocker, or the land was untapped, even just something as little as that would have probably bought us at least another turn here. Alright, and they did have a +4/+4 trample trick too, so it would have been a really uphill battle either way. And yet again, just c'est la vie, really. We keep winning games basically until I'm at Platinum Tier 1, and then Arena's like, nope, gotta hold you back. Sit down. Sit down. 5-3 it is. That is a pretty fine record for this deck, and it 100% could have been at least 6-2, because we could have won game 1, but my monkey brain misclicked. Pretty easy to forget. It's been so long. It's been 2.5 hours since that. I guess since I started this recording, so more like 2 hours since that play happened. But, yeah, just kind of started this draft off, started the gameplay off on a really sore foot there with basically just like a monkey brain just like misclick. Like I specifically said out loud what the correct card to kill was multiple times and then just clicked on the other one. If it weren't for that misplay, we would be 6-2 right now, and who knows, maybe we win the last game, maybe we lose it, but really, really good record if we played this out perfectly. Alas, I did not. The monkey brain took over. That's the only game I think was super winnable that we lost, but we could have made other misplays as well throughout. Our second loss was also pretty brutal. Kind of read that they were incredibly likely to bounce the Gearseeker Serpent, so the safer, or the only line really, is to just try to dig for the Pact Doll and go for that kill instead, because tapping out for Gearseeker just leaves us incredibly dead. to the bounce spell. Then I went for that line, and then they just like cast a couple draw spells at instant speed, clearly out of desperation, and just draw into the counter spell for the Pact All Terror. That was a brutal ending to our second loss too. And then the third loss was just not a game we had a chance of stabilizing. So is what it is. 5-3 it'll be for the draft. Still a great record. Still very much in the money here for our final Alchemy Aetherdrift draft. But that is going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and YouTube members for their support, as well as you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it and you're interested in seeing some more, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you some more in the recommended feed. If you'd like to catch me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below. And if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. But other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.